By 34, I hadn't been on a date in 8 months. Not because I couldn't get one. Not because I was too busy. Because something far worse had happened. I stopped wanting to try. And the strange part is, I can't tell you exactly when it happened. There was no heartbreak. No dramatic rejection. No moment that changed everything. One day, I just realized I hadn't opened a dating app in weeks. The apps were still there. Right between my bank app and my notes. I just didn't care anymore. Not because I stopped wanting love. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped believing that modern dating could actually lead to it. And if you're a single man in your 30s, there's a good chance you felt this too. That quiet shift. The moment you stop chasing the thing everyone keeps telling you to keep chasing. This isn't a video about dating apps. It's about what happens psychologically when hope slowly turns into indifference. And why that change is far more dangerous than most people realize. Stay until the end. Because the thing that finally helped me wasn't finding someone. It was understanding what I'd actually lost. Let me be clear about what this isn't. Not profile tips. Not date ideas. Not a pep talk to get back out there. This is about understanding what's actually happening, psychologically, when a man in his 30s slowly, quietly steps back from modern dating. We're going to name what most people won't. By the end, you'll have a clearer sense of where this is coming from, and what to actually do with that. Not transformation. Just understanding. Which, for most men in this position, is exactly what's been missing. Let me describe the moment. Because if I describe it right, you'll know exactly when it happened to you. There's no wall punched. No dramatic declaration. It's quieter than that. You open the app. You see a profile that would have genuinely excited you 2 years ago. Attractive. Something in the bio that actually lands. And you feel nothing. Not disgust. Not frustration. Just nothing. You match. You don't reply for 3 days. Not because you're busy. Not because you're playing some game. Because somewhere inside you, you genuinely can't find the energy to start again. The scary part isn't that you've become bitter. The scary part is that you haven't. You're not angry. You're not resentful. Somewhere underneath the numbness, the desire for real connection is still there. You can still feel the outline of it. But something has gone quiet. That's the moment we're going to talk about. Now here's what took me years to see. The thing I couldn't name until I stopped trying. Modern dating apps aren't broken. They're working exactly as designed. The product was never love. The product was always your attention. Think about it. The business model isn't built around you finding someone. If you found someone, you'd leave. The business model is built around you staying. Opening the app. Scrolling. Hoping. Coming back tomorrow. When psychologists call this choice overload, they're describing one piece of it. More options don't produce satisfaction. They produce paralysis and detachment. You stop seeing profiles as people. You start scanning for reasons to rule them out. Because if you don't, you'll never stop scrolling. But here's the part most people miss. The apps aren't the only thing that broke. The whole script broke. Meet someone. Move in. Get engaged. Get married. Have kids. In that order. By certain ages. That script is gone. There's no replacement. You're not just tired of dating. You're tired of dating without a map. And the map wasn't taken from you. It was never drawn for the world you actually live in. The first driver is the one nobody wants to say out loud. By your mid-30s, you know what effort actually produces. And dating, in its modern form, has one of the worst effort-to-reward ratios of anything you do as an adult. Let me walk you through what a single match actually costs. You don't just match. You craft the opener. Read their profile carefully. Check their Instagram. Draft a message that sounds casual but isn't. Send it. Wait. Get a reply. Have a 4-day text exchange that goes nowhere. Agree to meet. Pick a place. Get ready. Show up. Spend 90 minutes performing a version of yourself you've now done 47 times this year. And for what? Maybe a second date. Maybe not. Maybe 3 weeks of texting that goes nowhere. Maybe a relationship that runs 6 months and ends with the same quiet realization you've had 3 times before. That's not a complaint. That's math. And somewhere around your mid-30s, the math stops making sense. Not because the people got worse. Because you got better at noticing what the math actually is. There's an emotional version too. Every time you open yourself up, you're making a deposit. And when it ends, you don't just lose the connection. You lose some of what you put in. Do that enough times and what psychologists call emotional depletion sets in. Your reserves stop refilling at the rate they used to. The man who got genuinely excited about first dates at 26 isn't gone. He's running on something much quieter than hope. He's running on preservation. The second driver is harder to see because it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like dating. Modern dating is built on performance. You take the right kind of photos, write the right kind of bio, craft the right opener, show the right amount of interest, not too much, not too little. Match someone's energy exactly. You are pitching, editing, curating, constantly. And in your 20s, this was kind of fun. There was something to prove. In your 30s, the performance cost you something different. It cost you the feeling of being met. Because you've met enough people to know what it feels like to just be in a room with someone without performing. And the harder dating becomes to find that, the less tolerance you have for the parts that don't feel like that. There's another layer, and this one is specifically about men. Dating requires vulnerability. Most men have never been given a language for what happens when that goes wrong. Many women have close friendships that absorb that weight. Most men absorb it alone. The residue accumulates. After enough accumulation, the mind starts numbing in advance, feeling less before the potential loss can arrive. That's not coldness. That's a coping mechanism. The third driver is the one that sits underneath everything else. By 30, being single carries a weight it didn't carry at 24. You feel it in the questions relatives ask, in the math you do at a friend's engagement party, in the calculation you run late at night about how much time has passed. When every dating experience starts carrying identity significance, when a match starts to feel like evidence of your worth, and an unmatched starts to feel like a verdict, you stop approaching connection with curiosity. You approach it with pressure. You overthink messages. Calibrate your personality instead of just being it. Even when something goes well, there's a low-level anxiety underneath. Is this the one? Am I blowing this? That weight is exhausting to carry into every new connection. Many men don't pull back because they don't want love. They pull back because the identity pressure has made dating feel like too much to hold. The cruelest part is that the pressure is invisible. It's just there. In the questions. In the comparisons. In the quiet internal scorecard you keep without choosing to. And remember the system we talked about. The script that broke. There used to be an answer to that scorecard. A sequence, a deadline, a clear path. Now there isn't. The pressure compounds because there's nowhere to put it. The fourth driver is the one that takes longest to develop. Nobody arrives at this point as a cynic. Most men started with genuine hope. Real openness. But optimism isn't infinite. It's a resource. And when it gets depleted through connections that went nowhere, for reasons that felt like your fault but you couldn't identify, something shifts. It's not bitterness. Bitterness is loud. This is quieter. It's the moment you realize you're heading into a date and you already don't believe it will work. At 26 you walked in hoping it might work. At 36, you walk in hoping it won't hurt much when it doesn't. That shift didn't happen because you became negative. It happened because you became accurate. Accurate to a pattern that's been playing out for years. Accurate to a system that rewards endless availability but doesn't reward depth. And here's what makes it stick. Each time the prediction comes true, it confirms the new model. And each confirmation makes the next attempt slightly harder to walk into honestly. The quiet withdrawal isn't laziness. It's what happens when hope runs out and nobody noticed it draining. Now here's the part no one talks about. In the beginning, the giving up doesn't feel like giving up. Feels like relief. The pressure lifts. The apps go quiet. The energy you used to spend initiating, wondering, investing, it just stops going out. You start sleeping better. You stop scanning every room you walk into. For a few months, it feels like you finally got yourself back. But then something else arrives. A weekend that stretches too long. A friend's wedding where you're the only one without a plus one. A conversation with someone you find yourself unexpectedly drawn to, and then, almost by reflex, you pull back. That's when the loneliness changes. It stops being the loneliness of wanting someone and not having found them yet. It becomes the loneliness of having stopped looking. That version is harder, because it carries a question underneath it that's difficult to sit with honestly. Did I stop believing I'd find something real? Or did I stop believing I deserve it? So what's actually happening? Let me put it together. You didn't give up on love. You gave up on a system that was never designed to give you love. The product was never love. It was your attention. You didn't become cynical. You became accurate to a pattern you couldn't name. You didn't lose the capacity for connection. You lost the willingness to keep performing for a system that doesn't reward what you bring to it. And underneath all of it, underneath the quiet withdrawal, underneath the relief that turned back into loneliness, there's still something in you that wants it. Not the pitch. Not the performance. The real thing. The one that doesn't photograph well. The one that takes longer than a 4-day text exchange to reveal. That version of you didn't go away. It just stopped showing up to places that don't know how to recognize it. So what do you actually do with this? Not in a productivity way. In an honesty way. 3 shifts. None are tips. All our perspective changes. First, separate the system from yourself. Modern dating has real structural problems. The incentive architecture of apps isn't designed to help you find meaningful connection. It's designed to keep you in the app. When a connection goes wrong, you don't have to absorb it entirely as evidence of your inadequacy. Some of it is the context you're operating in. A man who believes every failed connection is proof of his unworthiness stops showing up fully. And partial presence can't create real connection. Second, actually process what you've been accumulating. Most men who reach this point are carrying emotional weight they've never examined. Find an outlet. Journaling, an honest conversation, writing down what the last year actually cost you. The depletion doesn't refill on its own. It refills when you genuinely process what's been draining it. Third, reduce the identity weight you've attached to dating. Dating is not a verdict. It's a process of finding compatibility, which involves a lot of incompatibility along the way. When you reduce the existential stakes of every new connection, you show up less calculated, more present, more like yourself. Presence, actual presence, not curated confidence, is what creates real connection. If something here landed, I want to leave you with one question. Not to analyze it, not to solve it tonight, just to sit with it honestly. When did you stop expecting dating to work? And was that a decision you consciously made, or something that happened to you quietly without you realizing it? That distinction matters. Because the answer tells you something real about where your energy actually went, and what you might need in order to get it back. If you're willing, drop your age in the comments, just the number. I want to see how many of us there are. And if this channel is speaking to where you are right now, stay around. There's more here that might be worth your time. Take care of yourself. And stop pretending you want something you don't.